and also an understanding of that there's an inherent order or balance in creation. And that's really one of the first ideas in Hinduism. If you go back to the Rig Veda, one of the first texts, there's this concept called Ritta Rta. And Ritta means that there's a universal order and a universal balance in the universe. And so what that means is that concept that everything is uniquely balanced is so strong. And if you couple that with the teachings of Dharma, Dharma means to uphold and to sustain. If you put those two powerful concepts together, what you have is that Dharma in its essence means to uphold and sustain the natural order and the natural balance of the universe. And that right there is the essence of how we should be caring for the environment and sustainability.
I'd like if you could, speak on whether there's something fundamentally unique about this Hindu approach, this Hindu perspective, and if there is, how does that contribute to, how the world right now is thinking about environmental sustainability? How does that, manifest in our tradition?
Sure. Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle. And that was where we started out, was like, what is a Hindu contribution to addressing these issues, right? Because we come from an ancient civilization with texts and rishis that have been teaching, teaching these things for thousands of years, right? So like, what is our contribution to modernity? What is our contribution to climate change and sustainability? So that was our starting point. And, we've done a lot of research, we've published work on that. And I would say what we found is that it's not so much unique, but it's a perspective that I think is shared by a lot of indigenous people across the world, but is oftentimes drowned out by Western Judeo-Christian narratives around, the meaning of life and what development means. And so what I found is that when I'm in a room with Native American people or indigenous peoples from South America, there's a lot of, there's a great connection, because we speak in a language that they often speak in. And so, but at the same time, I think there are also certain unique perspectives and contributions we can make as well. One thing I think is very profound, and it's one of the basics of Hinduism, I think, is just the fact that the earth is a goddess, that we call the earth Bhumi, that she is a mother. Like, there are 7 mothers considered in Hinduism, and the earth is one of those 7 mothers. And I think that's just a beautiful starting point, that if the earth is a mother, if the earth is a goddess, then we should treat her with the same love and respect and care that we treat our own mothers, and how we treat the other mothers in Hinduism, such as the cow is considered a mother, and the nurse is considered a mother, and the wife of the guru is considered a mother. So all these beautiful mothers that we have, the earth is also one of our mothers. She gives us so much day in, day out, without asking for anything in return. So I think that's a beautiful contribution. And also an understanding of that there's an inherent order or balance in creation. And that's really one of the first ideas in Hinduism. If you go back to the Rig Veda, one of the first texts, there's this concept called Ritta Rta. And Ritta means that there's a universal order and a universal balance in the universe. And so what that means is that concept that everything is uniquely balanced is so strong. And if you couple that with the teaching of Dharma, Dharma means to uphold and to sustain. If you put those two powerful concepts together, what you have is that Dharma in its essence means to uphold and sustain the natural order and the natural balance of the universe. And that right there is the essence of how we should be caring for the environment and sustainability. And then there's so many other things such as ahimsa. We talk about nonviolence, but what does that really mean? And if we look at the current climate crisis, the current climate crisis is really a result of himsa, of us causing harm to the planet, of fossil fuel extraction, of over-exploitation, of overconsumption, right? We are harming the earth, and therefore we are harming ourselves. And ahimsa says that we should minimize as much as possible the harm we cause on other people and to the planet itself. So these are just like very basic understandings of Hinduism, right? And then there's other stories that you can bring out. So for example, if you look at the life of Lord Ram, or if you look at the life of Lord Krishna, they lived agrarian lifestyles. They lived in the forests. They lived not in cities. Krishna lived, for part of his life in Vrindavan, Mathura, and only when he was an adult, he moved to Dwarka. But when he lived, and what's the most famous stories of Krishna? It's when he's a cowherd boy looking after the cows, lifting up the Govardhan hill. And when you look at the life of Lord Ram, the 14 years in the forest, so many beautiful stories there about how he cared for the natural world. And when he went to fight Ravan, he gave everyone an equal opportunity to be part of his army, from Hanuman, who lifted mountains, to the small spider who just was carrying a very, very small thing, but he gave equal opportunity to everyone because he saw everybody had a contribution. And so from the text, from the Sanskrit text to the Ramayana and the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita, you know, there is a depth, there is a wealth of information there. And these understandings are not different to sustainability. Sustainability, when we talk about it, is really a non-religious way about how to live in the world. Sustainability is asking that we treat everybody nicely, we give everybody opportunity, we don't hurt other people. They're really basic universal things that Hinduism has advocated for thousands of years, and a lot of world traditions have advocated for thousands of years. So in our work, we don't see like a dichotomy or separation. It's just a different of language and emphasis that we're really seeing when we look at a Hindu perspective and look at a really secular sustainability development narrative. That's what we see.